Welcome to the LiveCast Conversations With. On this show, my guests and I explore the bumps and triumphs of their journey to extract the gems from their experiences, because success leaves clues, and today we turn those clues into billboards for you. I'm your host, Jean Bernier, founder of Pealed Back, speaker and co-active coach, guiding leaders to ruthlessly pursue a life worth living. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 92 of the LiveCast Conversations With. This episode was pre-recorded, so I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Kelley Brakstad and Brenda Hooper for jumping on the call today. Kelly and Brenda co-founded the Rising Leaders Global Summit, bringing coaches and educators worldwide to join forces to deliver high-quality, actionable strategies to support and strengthen the confidence of aspiring new and mid-level leaders. Ladies, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Jane.
Great to be here. Yeah.
Very excited. So tell us a little bit about the Rising Leaders Global Summit. I know the couple sentences definitely does not do it justice. In February, there was the 3-day online summit. What has happened since then, and what's moving forward with that?
Gosh, what's happened since then? Well, Kelly and I, it was a 2-day summit. It was our first, so the inaugural. And my gosh, we had, I think, 195 people for our first inaugural. So we were pretty pleased with that. And
that's a great turnout.
We had 17 amazing coaches come on and just share their wealth of wisdom and experience, with the focus of helping aspiring new and mid-level leaders. So what's going on? Kelly and I are pumped. I'm pumped. We're going to be coming on board again with the Rising Leaders Global Summit in the fall. So we just, we're excited with what, there's just so much to offer from so many people that we just said we just got to keep at this and help and support leaders.
I love the mission. Big time. Love it. So how did the two of you come together around this? Like, what was the thing that brought you both together? And was it this, or was it something before this?
Well, it's a great question, because it's actually part of what I was thinking about today when I was coming on. I was like, wow, Brenda and I have been through a journey together. And I was thinking about my mission and how that fits into Rising Leaders. And we started together in a mastermind group. And that mastermind group was a bunch of coaches that we were in a course together. And we all felt really pulled and drawn to knowing that, some of us work with executives and senior level leadership, but we were really drawn to this next level of leadership, that especially in this sort of new way of working where everybody's a leader anymore, right? And really being able to deliver leadership skills to people at all levels and more junior, or I hate to even use the word junior. It's not even really, you're not a junior. We're all figuring this out as we go. Like, nobody is junior, senior. You just have a little experience or a lot more experience. Yeah. And we started with this mastermind group, and we were all really motivated to focus on these mid-level rising leaders. And we started off with this idea of, I hope I can share this, Brenda, I'm going to do it anyway. We wanted to call it like 100,000 leaders, right? Because if we could just change leadership through what we wanted to deliver through 100,000 leaders, like the knock-on is sort of the halo effect you can get.
Yes.
Right, from affecting 100,000. Unfortunately, 100,000 leaders was taken by somebody else. So we kind of said, well, you know what? Listen, we'll call ourselves 10,000 leaders, because 10,000 become 100,000, become a million.
11,000. 11,000.
Oh,
11,000.
Yeah, 11,000. We wanted an odd number. We're odd.
And that's kind of how we started, that we were really motivated to help this group of people. And it just evolved, and, people are busy, and, we're still in touch with the group, and the group actually helped us put this Rising Leaders together. But Brenda and I really felt really passionate. We're like, okay, let us focus, because, and this is what happens in businesses too, when you have a large team and everybody's a decision maker, right? And so we really wanted to focus and create something, and then bring along everybody else with us. So that's really kind of our roots. I don't know, Brenda, do you want to add on? I'm not even sure I know how you and I kind of came together in that way to decide Rising Leaders, but maybe you can add some flavor to that.
Yeah, the Rising Leaders, when we decided that we're just going to just do it, just, get out there and start putting something together. And so this group, we were from all over the world, basically. And so we were dealing with challenges of time zones and, things, life happens, right? And so, somebody would get sick, or, a loved one or something was going on, or business or something was happening for them, that we were just having a hard time really connecting and staying connected with this distance and time zone. And so anyway, the passion, the dream was still there. I was just trying to figure out how to implement it. So I just kind of put my foot down and said, okay, I'm taking this course on, I can't even think. What was it, Kelly? I can't even remember what it was. I think it was just putting these summits together. Just putting the summits together. I said, I'm taking this course. I'm putting this summit together. I'm doing this. Who wants in? Like, who's doing it with me? And Kelly goes, okay, we're doing it. Okay, good. There you go. So then Kelly and I just ran with it. And then
I love that.
The Rising Leaders Global Summit, there was a couple of those coaches that were part of the summit. So part of the team.
Right.
Yeah.
A couple. It was almost all of them, actually.
Oh, actually, yeah. There was more than this. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I've lost count. But anyway, so they were a part of it, and we were so pleased that they were able to be a part of it. But we were the behind the scenes learning curve, I tell you, like not big.
Yeah.
When you laugh at that, I'm just, I want to like zoom in on that. Like that laugh is like, oh, it's over now. But like, what was it like going through that as a new partnership, co-founders together? Because it's one thing to have the idea and bring the passion to it, but it's another when you're like, all right, well, we can see the end mark. How many steps? Be like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like a lot. Then all of a sudden you're like, well, that's a lot of steps.
Kelly, do you want to go?
I think it helped that Brenda was taking this course, right? Like how to create a summit. So she had like a framework from which we could work off of. And because we had known each other and we had worked with each other, we kind of knew each other's strengths and knew how to talk to each other and go, okay, you do that. How about you do you want to do that? No, I don't do that. You do that. Right. So we had this sort of conversation between the two of us, but most of what we did, neither of us have ever done, right?
Yes.
Ever. Like, and this is amazing. It's not only the journey to bring this summit and bring, this information to leaders, but also that we're in their place, right? Trying to build a business. I wouldn't call it, I don't know if I call it Rising Leaders a business, but you have to do all the steps. You have to learn how to build landing pages, right? You have to learn how to do sales and marketing. You have to go out and find these exciting, great coaches, and all these things had to be done, and we had no idea.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we just put we had the idea. We just tried to, as we're implementing it, and sometimes we had to, okay, this isn't quite working the way that we wanted to. But if anything, I was really, really grateful that Kelly was on board with me. I think just having somebody there to bounce ideas off of, and being an entrepreneur, because we both have our own businesses, as we all have our own businesses, it can be pretty lonely at times. And so having just Kelly there to, sometimes we get frustrated, or something that wasn't working right, or and we could just be there for each other as well. So I think a strong friendship grew from that as well.
Right. So adding on to, so it sounds like as you were going through it, you were kind of drinking the Kool-Aid of being Rising Leaders, of putting this on, stepping into the discomfort of like, we don't know how to do this yet, and how do we do this as a team? And I Kelly, you made mention that you had some really good conversations around that. So what was it? how did you, I'm stealing some CTI terminology here, but how did you guys design your alliance around holding that space for that conversation? Because sometimes as two rising leaders of your own, like that can be like a really difficult space to kind of step into.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's just mutual respect. It's everything that we, that we go, that we have with our own clients, right? Just that discussion of being able to have the open discussion together and when something isn't going right, and how can we help each other get through that was pretty key. I think all the things that we help other leaders do, we try and implement it ourselves, right? We can't tell people to do. We're not actually doing that ourselves as well. So, we would run it, to Brenda's point, we would run into problems, but we would just come together. And it's like working in a small business or a startup, right? You say, it's not like you have that job and you have that job. When Brenda was having problems with some of the back end stuff, right? And we'd be like, okay, how do we solve this? Who do we go to? It was a we conversation, not an I conversation, always.
I think that's a very powerful statement right there in itself, as being part of like a leader. How do you bring that we into that conversation? As somebody that's, these rising leaders are maybe new to having some form of leadership role officially in their work life, bringing the bravery to say, hey, bring the bravery to say, hey, let's make this a we instead of a me.
Yeah, and that we're in this together, and we can vent if we have to. We can celebrate, which we did a few times with high fives. Something worked finally in the back end stuff. And it was very much, we're in this together. So,
right.
Yeah, and we were very focused on, we're always constantly focused on who it is that we wanted to bring value to, right? Nothing was perfect. And the summit, it was pretty perfect because we loved it. We had a great time, right? But there were things that weren't perfect. And there still are things that aren't perfect. But leadership isn't perfect. There's no perfection in it, right? It's a trial and error. And that's what innovation's all about too. And that's what we are bringing, right, to rising leaders, is that, this learning and this just doing it, figuring it out and learning from it.
Right. And what stands out for me is, as well, you guys had a bit of a North Star about, okay, this is where we've agreed about what we think it's going to look like. So while you're doing that trial and error, I imagine that made it easier to go, oh, okay, well, this is messy and we're learning, but we still progress. We're this much closer towards our North Star versus going, let's just go out, be messy, and hope for the best.
Well, we did go out. We were messy. We hoped for the best, and we had a North Star that got really bright as we approached the deadline of getting everything into place. So it was fun, but it certainly had its challenges and learning. As Kelley said, like we're constantly learning, constantly still learning. Looking at, okay, how can we do it differently for the next round? What do we want to do? And that's what tweaking is. I don't know, there's never any perfection, but just tweaking to make it to the best that we can with our abilities, and relying on other people as well. Like, who do we need to bring onto the team if we need to help us through to the next level?
Right.
Being open to that.
What did you learn about yourselves as you went through this process?
What did I learn?
That I can build a landing page. But that actually doesn't matter how old you are. You can learn new things, right?
Yes.
I learned also that, I used to deliver training in a classroom. I mean in a business classroom, right?
Yeah.
And was always comfortable because those were people I worked with, but never knew I'd be okay in front of a camera. I really had this fear, right, of being able to present myself. And just a little bit, I'm going to share a little bit about me, if that's okay.
Of course, yes.
You know, I used to go into boardrooms. So I used to be an HR BP, a director in HR, and go into senior level leadership meetings. And I didn't say much. To be honest with you, I didn't think I had, right, a voice in those meetings. And nobody was making me feel that way. It was something that I felt myself, or wasn't encouraged, or for whatever reason. And so then had some view of myself that I wasn't able to be able to speak clearly and freely in this type of environment. So, you know, I really realized through this process and going through the summit that that person doesn't exist anymore. I think that was pretty powerful for me.
That's incredibly powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
And she rocked.
Thank you. It's because I had a perfect partner.
Oh, sure.
Well, just speaking to like the outcome of it, it's you know, big shout out to my mom. She watched it and spoke after it was all done, going, what you two ladies she had produced and built. She's like, this needs to be put into like everybody's boardroom.
Oh.
And like she was blown away at some of the messaging and the value that was coming out of that. So like it impacted.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Mom for right, but like that is the reach up of what that type of messaging was, and what you just shared here as well is like that opportunity to be open and transparent and going, look, like I'm still learning, and you held we use those role titles, like very senior roles, and still felt like you maybe didn't belong in that room, and now have gone through this and kind of breaking those walls down within yourself to be like, okay, what is within here that is going to allow me to step out of this discomfort and into showing up? Because there's rising leaders that are, well, that were there, that were dependent, that you did, right? It was that calling up towards this.
Yep. I feel that very strongly. Yeah, I feel that very strongly, that whatever lessons that I've learned or should have known, or if, you know, I had someone like a Brenda, or, you know, someone like myself, and I have spent money on coaching before myself, and hold that person very dearly to my growth after leaving corporate world. It was pretty powerful, and I want to pay that forward. I've always wanted to pay things forward. I've always felt very strongly about that, but I'm certainly more motivated to do that.
I think that, you know, opening the world up like we did with the Rising Leaders, there's just so many talented coaches and people out there to support leaders in any capacity. And I think that if anything, we really tried to have kind of like a holistic view of the summit. You know, it's not just about, you know, numbers and, you know, performances and that. It's about who this leader is, the whole body, the whole person. And, you know, I think that that's a theme that I certainly want to, you know, like to continue on, because we are whole, and want to be made whole. And it's not just about, you know, like it's communication. It's like, how do you feel about yourself? It's everything that makes an individual bring their best to their life. And so we had people on there who were life coaches. We had people on here, they're business coaches, you know, health coaches, like just so many different things. And I really love that part of it, to have people come together. In terms of my own learning, I think that it's the resilience, like knowing that I had a stronger resilience than I thought that I did, you know, like pushing ourselves through this, sometimes just wanting to throw our hands up in the air, or I did at times, and, you know, it's just not working here. And, but, you know, having Kelley here with me, Just saying, okay, like, what do we got to think about here? And she actually went into coach mode a few times with me, which, like just the power of coaching. It's like, okay, sit back, think about it, right? So just even utilizing that as we were creating the summit was so valuable. So, but yeah, I think it's, for me, it was just learning that I do have this resilience, and, let it shine when it needs to shine, and make it through. And we did it.
I love that. And within there is this message about what is your relationship about doing hard things. Because there's one thing about being resilient and being on the other end of it, but like now walking into seeing new hard things, what's that relationship like with when they show up?
I think that there still can be some fear. Because can I do it? There can be some, sometimes the confidence isn't there, but it's okay. I've done it before, using some appreciative inquiry technique on myself. When have I done something hard like this before? And, and how did I get through it? And that sort of, so it's that self-talk, it's that mindset of, but I have to be honest. I think of something of the next hurdle, the next thing that's hard, and I still can react to it, but it's me thinking, what do I need to do? How do I get through this? Who do I need to help me get through this? Do I have to do this alone? Because so often we think about, trying to get through these things by ourselves, and there's just such a world out there that of people who are servers that you don't have to, that there's people there for you. So
I think that leads into the next question, is around, if you were doing this on your own, would you've been able to get through all those hard stuff if it wasn't for your partnership?
I think it would have taken longer for me, a lot longer. I don't know whether I would have given up. I don't know whether I would have given up, just with all the technical stuff that I'm not a techie by any means. It might have got done, but I really do. I am hesitating on that. I just don't know whether the drive and the passion would have been there if I was on my own. I think Kelley was instrumental in keeping that passion alive, or keeping that motivation alive for me.
Yeah, equally. Like, we balance each other's strengths. So, when she was running into technical, that was kind of, I can do that. I didn't realize, but, and then on the backside, Brenda is extremely organized, and, I'm more of a creative, and not to say that she's not, but, I appreciate the organization and the next steps, and here's what's, so we've kind of balanced each other off in that regard, and that's what made it work. And I honestly had never considered running a summit until Brenda was like, I'm taking this course, let's run. We were thinking about how, as 11,000 leaders, we were going to reach out, but a summit wasn't it was on the list, but wasn't really a real idea, right? I don't think I would have ever done it. I wouldn't have done it on my own. I just wouldn't have. And I can tell you that for sure. I wouldn't have. And, even me going on and thinking to do YouTube videos was extremely scary. And some kind of dam has been broken by just doing this, that I'm no longer, I don't have that fear anymore. I don't know why and what's happened, but I think just doing it, and doing it quickly, because there was many times I was like, oh, how are we going to get this done before February? Are we really going to be able to launch? We're like, we don't have enough coaches. It wasn't easy, right? Oh, the back end isn't working. Who do we get to help? Bring it together, because there's so many components you have to work together. The back end software. There's so much that we've done. I guess I haven't reflected on it until now, but truly it broke something in me that I feel fearless now. I know that sounds crazy. It was just a summit.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
love that
love
as
it that
well.
you're fearless. Yeah. Cause as I say, like I take a look at different projects as they come up, and there can be that little bit of fear factor for me, for the moment of thinking, can I do this? Do I want to do it? Am I saying no because I'm scared, or am I saying no because of other priorities? So I have to start, I kind of analyze, and maybe I analyze too much, but at the same time, it helps me to prioritize as well. So, I mean, there's some good to
Okay,
that.
of course, those go through me too. Like I am
Yeah.
not. I say fearless. We all have those doubts. We all have those conversations. Fearless doesn't mean don't have any of those, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't sort of have this sort of self-awareness that I need in order to do more and be more.
Yeah.
But I now those questions, right, don't hold me back. They're just asked
Right.
so that I can move forward.
Yeah, there's a power and the power of doing, right, and that's
Yeah.
something that we really uh, drilled into everybody who was going to be coaching on the summit. Was we want actionable takeaway things that people can leave with and apply it, because that action piece is just critical. And so, like, taking that, having the courage and just trying one of these 17 techniques or strategies out, and see what just resonates with you. I mean, that's really what our hope was, that people would leave with that.
Right.
And yeah, and hey, we're doing it. So we can
Putting the
say,
action to it.
we can say, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Well, and I think having that conversation around the fear, like there's a component of like listening to the early stages of this is like, well, fear may have been there, and like there's one thing to be like, is this important? Yes, no, yes. Is this something we can do? Yes, no. Am I afraid to do this? I think sometimes that question overshadows those other two, right? Like, was this important? Yes. Could you do this? Yes. And if you were on your own, that fear would have been a big monster to take on. And by being able to bring you two together with the way that you've talked about aligning your strengths and your weaknesses, you're able to kind of bring the light to that, going, that fear isn't that big. And now all of a sudden it's just like, what else can I do?
What
What
else
else
could
was I afraid
That's
of
right.
that I wanted to do now that I can?
That's beautifully
definitely?
put, Dean. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Jean.
You just set it all up. This is, but if anything can take anything away, it's like there's a component of like that fear didn't get time to set roots as well, because you put that time pressure on it, going, oh, fear's there. Well, we still got to do it because we've already made all these commitments to each other, and then to your audience as you were growing. There is a power in that peer pressure as well, though, a little bit when used wisely.
Definitely, putting that stake in the ground and saying, this is it. This is what we got to do. How are we going to do it? Which is what we
Yeah.
have to do as leaders, right? We have projects. We have things that are on the go, that we have to put the stake on the ground, say, this is our deadline, and what do we got to do? So, like, we work backwards. Like, we just did whatever we could do to figure out what do we need to do by when, and how do we need to do it. And so it's just like any other business, any other project, and just making sure that stake was in the ground and that was held there. No movement.
well, well, it's your anchor, it's your tether, right? So then you know where you're working towards, and that also gives you this flexibility. And I think probably piece of that fearlessness goes, oh, there's a lot more flexibility than just the first way we thought we were going to go about this. Like, who can I use? Who do I need to be to get through this? How can we do this together? Is this actually important? Like, all those things can still keep coming up as you're processing and working through each of those individual tasks, which then break down, I guess, to the little micro goals that you're working towards.
Yeah. The,
It was definitely an evolution. And because we went through that evolution, we can now be more uh, conscious and cognizant and strategic about our next summit. So that was really a good takeaway for me as well.
Definitely. Yeah. Takeaway for sure.
And there's
Go
that
ahead.
component of it's got to start somewhere, right?
It does, and we don't know where it's going to end.
Yeah.
And as you say, the North Star. I mean, we have a guiding light, and we have some ideas, and where they go. I mean, we can put another stake in the ground, which we have, for another summit, and we'll see. It's just a matter of who's out there with needing the message that we have for the summit. Like what messages do we bring to them? I think there's enough people out there that are looking for just the type of stuff that we're able to offer in the summit.
Oh, 100%. Have you found around your messaging about where you approach it that first time to where that evolution is taking that messaging? Has it changed? Has it gotten sharper? Or are you finding that it was really on point on the first go?
You want to go, Kelley?
No, go ahead.
I think that we were really clear for myself that we wanted to help aspiring leaders. I do executive coaching, and yes, I can do executive stuff, but I see so often it's the mid-level, and the leadership pipeline is not full at all. And because they're not helping, organizations are not helping those people get to where they need to be. And there's so much talent out there if they just had the support. And so for me, that was the focus of why we're doing this and who we're attracting to this summit. I don't think that that's changed. Maybe a little bit of some of the messaging might change over the years, but I mean, that's for myself. Kelley, how about for you?
No, I think that's spot on. I mean, that's our North Star, right? Is that, we as a nation, as a world, however you want to place it, in the context, we aren't doing a good job in our education system. We all know this. This isn't something that I'm not going to sit here and discuss. We just know they're not being prepared, not even for the workplace, but not to start businesses, right? Not even to understand what leadership is about, let alone financials, right? Their own financials or the financials of a business that they have to run. Then, somehow the organizations have evolved into trying to fill that gap. But businesses shouldn't be in the business of training people just because the leadership gap is there, right? And a lot of businesses don't do a very good job, and some do. I'm not here to criticize, right? A little, but there are some businesses who do a very good job, but they spend a ton of money and time doing it, and good on them. And they train people amazing. Google is one of those, but most businesses don't have the capacity or the capability, and they try. And I was in that world. I'll just be very frank, right? And it wasn't enough, and it's not enough. And I think that's where both Brenda and I feel very strongly well, but there's a plethora of us out there who can step in and help these businesses, help these leaders. Right. And that's where our passion comes from. So I agree with Brenda that that doesn't change. The messaging changes only as and when our audience tells us exactly what it is that they want more and more of. And we will get finer and finer tuned on that to be able to provide what it is that is the most painful for these rising leaders, right. And be able to provide them with the actionable insights and tools, right? Not just the knowledge that exists on the internet. We know that it's all out there, but it's how do you actually implement and what is not just the action, but what is then you reflecting on that so that it can be better next time.
Right. Oh, I like that. Knowing that last part there is the critical piece, is that reflecting, that you call that in business the debrief, right? And actually taking what are we going to start, continue, and stop, and bringing this into leadership and bringing that into that conversation of taking it beyond just the project and the doing, but how do we bring that into the being component of being in this role we call leadership?
Yeah. And I mean, training, I mean, as Kelley says, I mean, companies spend, millions of dollars and billions of dollars in training, and yet so much of it's lost. I mean, we're coaches. We're all coaches here, and we know the training gives the foundation. The coaching helps with the implementation. So it has to be, together. Like you cannot do one without the other. I mean, the training is just useless, really. It's just spending. It's just wasting a whole bunch of money. I've done, I don't know how many, 3-day courses, 5-day courses, those sort of things. And then I the next week or the month later, I'm kind of back to my old way. Right. Yeah. So that's, I think, of something for coaches, for people to look at coaching as a way to be and help them create the person who they want to be. And it just doesn't happen overnight over a 5-day course. It just doesn't happen.
Or alone, which has been really the thread through this whole conversation. Like, I thought I had to do it on my own, and I was wrong.
It takes a community. Like, there's a reason that saying's been around, is like, it does take that community to bring that in, to hold that space, just like the two of you held it for each other, and all these other leaders will be doing within their own organizations and through everything else. It's like, well, you're not doing it alone. If you're being a leader, well, chances are that's because you're leading people, right? So you need to be able to have that component of, like, where we came back earlier. It's not the me, it's the we, and how do we focus on that? What is the true importance of this we, and how do we all add some wholeness to that?
And we is the hard part. Like, we, it's easy to say it's not a me, it's a we. But we is where all the problems, because we're just people, right? We know there's conflict, right? We know there's disagreements. We know somebody isn't pulling their weight. Brenda and I have been on that roundabout many, many times, right? We get it, right? So it's really grand to say it's a we and it's a community, but unless you have the communication and you have the skills to manage conflict and what's healthy conflict and not healthy conflict, and right, how do you develop somebody, or how, all these things that aren't easy as a community, and that's why people give up. They just like, I'm just going to focus on myself because it's too hard. Right. So again, it's not doing it alone. And that's why we're here is I hope that I would never have to do anything alone again, because I am much stronger with others.
That resonates big time. I see Brenda smiling as well based on that.
Pardon me? Sorry, the audio.
Oh, I said, and I see Brenda smiling as well at the end of that statement.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think that resonates for you too.
I think Kelley has such a way with speaking, like she's just a really powerful speaker, so I enjoy listening to her.
I don't think I've ever been told I'm a powerful speaker, but thank you. I'm just passionate. Like, I just want to change, right, the world, and I'm excited.
I love
it. It is exciting. It is exciting.
Passionate and powerful, and more to come.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
there is more to come.
Well, as we kind of get to the end of wrapping this up, can we give a shout out for what is this more to come around Rising Leaders, and where can people find a little bit more information?
Well, we're hosting the Rising Leaders Global Summit on September the 22nd of this year. So September 22nd, 2022 is our second launch of the Global Summit. And
first heard here. You're the first heard.
First here.
Yeah,
we're announcing. Yes, the promo is out, everybody.
Yeah. So we put that stake in the ground, and that's what we're working towards. So it's the Rising Leaders Global. Is the risingleadersglobal.com, Kelley? I don't remember if Summit's in there or not.
Yes, it's risingleadersummit.net.
Summit.net, right? Yeah. So you'll put that into the show notes there with.
So down below the show notes will be the link to the risingleadersummit.net, where you can learn more about what these two awesome ladies have in store on September 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think peeling just a little peek behind the curtain might be something on resilience, and I might have to go down a rabbit hole of neuroscience. And I'm not a neuroscientist, but it is kind of one of my geeky things that I like to get involved in.
And that's
exciting.
really interesting. So could I do one more plug? So June 22nd of this year, I'm going to be hosting a free webinar called Creating a Conflict Resilient Workplace. So I guess we've got resilience on our mind these days, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So this is all about conflict resilience. So that's coming up too.
Finding resilience in all our areas of life. I love it. So make sure to share that webinar link, Brenda, and I'll add it down below and put it in the comments for you. So,
good, thanks.
So, as I said at the top of the show, we were going to hit that 40-minute mark because we were going to have an enjoyable conversation, and here we are. So, both of you, thank you so much for being guests today on episode 92. And before I let you go, I ask everybody this question now going forward, is that we're going to jump in my time machine. We're going to jump ahead 10 years into the future. When that door opens, you get to meet your future selves. What's the one thing that they're saying, thanks for doing?
Thanks for taking the courage to just launch a summit, do something you didn't know, and we're all here. Yeah, we're here because of it.
For the courage.
Yeah.
Kelley?
Is it thank you to myself, or is it thank you somebody else is giving me? Sorry.
No, thank you to so the future you is going, thank you so much. You took that action.
For stepping in to the power of trying to create change for leadership and just stepping into myself. I think that person's going to be, very grateful for that.
There's going to be a lot more YouTube videos because of it.
Maybe. Maybe not.
More to come.
More to come.
Watch this space.
All right. Thank you again to both of you. This has been great. And everybody else who's watching, thanks for watching episode 92 of the LiveCast Conversations With. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Gene. Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.